Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out, and I'm honored to stand here today with Alaskan men and women who have served our country. When I started my campaign for United States Senate a few months ago, I talked about a number of issues where needs of Alaskan families were not being met. One of the chief concerns that I expressed was how, as a country, we have failed to meet our commitment to veterans and military families on health care, housing assistance, and education. I challenged Senator Stevens to stop blocking the new GI Bill that would give Iraq and Afghanistan veterans the same educational benefits he received when he was in the military. Senator Stevens finally got on board supporting the bill. I also wanted to hear directly from Alaska's 80,000 veterans about their needs and concerns. I invited Senator John Tester from Montana to come up here, a member of the Senate Veterans Committee, to ask Alaskans, to see Alaskans and hear from Alaskans of their concerns as well. I can tell you, as I traveled to Matsu, Anchorage, and Fairbanks, those listening sessions were insightful and troubling. Our veterans clearly are not getting the services and benefits they were promised and deserve. It's not right that Alaska vets have to leave Alaska to receive care. It's not right that Alaska vets have to wait months on months for appointments. It's not right that Alaska vets are going to debt to cover college education. And it's not right to see the record cases of PTSD and suicide. It's not right that the VA has tried to minimize these cases to save money. Those listening sessions are the basis for the Veterans Plan that I'm announcing today. My plan reflects the concerns and challenges veterans have brought to me. Now more than ever, we need to invest in improved health care, disability benefits, transition services, mental health counseling, and thousands more men and women making the sacrifice to serve in the global war on terrorism as they return home. They should not return to a woefully underfunded Veterans Administration that can't provide adequate medical care, that can't process their disability claims on time, and that can't provide critical counseling services. Those who have served our country in past wars also should not face those delays. We all know that the veteran population is aging and needing increased care. Today, the VA faces a backlog of more than 400,000 compensation claims. As Senator, I will fight for full funding of a Veterans Administration. I will push also for expanded services here in Alaska, including a dedicated Veterans Hospital. It is unacceptable that we continue to send Alaskan veterans out of state for services that can and should be provided right here in our great state. I will also support a bipartisan piece of legislation, Heroes Health Card, that will allow veterans to receive care anywhere, anytime, from any doctor. We should not. I have to tell you, and I'll digress for a second on that issue. When I go almost everywhere in this state, when I mention the Heroes Health Card, that is one of the most accepted ideas I keep hearing over and over again, because it gives access to medical care no matter where you are. And we should not be asking our veterans to travel these long distances at high cost to be away from their families. This is especially true for our veterans living in rural Alaska, where transportation costs are up to $1,000 to get them to their medical facilities. We also need to make sure that our returning soldiers and their families are taken care of as they transition into civilian life. As mayor, I've had the pleasure of attending many welcome home ceremonies. But as we know, that when the fanfare is over, many soldiers and their families face difficult challenges. They need to know their government is still there for them. They need to know the services are available to them to help them find a job, housing assistance, and the counseling and medical services they need. No veteran should fall through the cracks of the VA bureaucracy. As Senator, I will support a new partnership with community organizations to make sure every veteran every military family gets the help they need. I will support building a dedicated veterans home here in Alaska. As mayor, I've offered to donate land for this veterans home. It is far past time, it's far overdue to build it now. There is much, much more that we need to do to keep our commitment to our veterans. This is truly just a start. As senator, just as I have been as mayor, I will always be there for veterans and active military families. I will be proud to join the new group of senators, Senator Tester, Senator Webb, who made serving our veterans their priority. They brought a new energy and a new commitment to meeting the needs of veterans. In the first 2 years, they increased mileage reimbursement for veterans, increased funding for the VA, and passed landmark new GI Bill. This pin here, and I brought it up, I know some of the folks here, we passed them out. This is a reminder to me, and I noticed this pin on a veteran one day. I was touring one of the veteran facilities, and I liked it. I pointed to it. I don't know if he offered it to me, but I took it off his lapel, and I said, I like this. And the pin just says very simply, business as usual, with a red line through it. And I asked him why he wore this, and he said, you got to deal with the Veterans Administration to understand why I wear this. And I said, I like the pin, I took it. And then about 2 weeks later, I showed up at my office, and there was a bag of these pins that he dropped off that he had made because he is so frustrated with the bureaucracy of the VA and the lack of services that are coming or not coming to veterans across this state and across this country. You know, as we get ready to deploy another brigade of brave Alaskan men and women to Iraq, I want to again recognize and thank everyone here and everyone who is serving and will be serving for the sacrifices they make for their country and the families that make the sacrifices with them. You know, I'm honored and humbled to announce the support of over 200 veterans across this great state that are supporting my campaign, that have signed on as Veterans for Begich. I'm also honored to stand here at the podium today with Governor Knowles, a Vietnam veteran, who as mayor played a significant role and as governor played a significant role in veterans issues. Evan Oldrum, also a Vietnam veteran, originally from I do this all the time. Western Alaska, and Dorsey Rowland, a 16-year Army sergeant and veteran, who are here today to say their words, Nunivak. I went to Nunavut Valley at elementary school, that's my problem. Nunivak Island is where Evan is from. But it's just an incredible group of 3 individuals that will tell you their story, but also why they're supporting this campaign and the needs that they see with the veterans care, but also the active military. Let me first introduce Governor Tony Knowles, a Vietnam veteran, who will say a few words. Tony?
Thank you, Mayor Begich. It is a privilege to stand here at this podium with people who have worn our country's uniform and people who understand the sacrifice of public service. Mayor Begich talked about this particular memorial, and I see Ray Mann is here, who was the person in charge of putting it together. I can remember him on a small front-end loader long after work hours, helping to move the dirt to make this possible. Ray, it's good to see you. Mark Begich understands public service. He understands the sacrifice of public service. The tragic loss of his father while serving America and serving Alaska as its only congressman is a reminder of that sacrifice. I'm proud to stand here with all of the people that have worn our country's uniform and who believe that this is a year of change. It's a year of change because we've had enough of people who believe that as soon as you put away the country's uniform, that the promises or the recognition then goes unnoticed. That the promise and the voices that we want to be heard are the ones that recognize that there are health care, education, counseling, all the kinds of benefits for those people who were not afraid to commit their lives, that we do have a lifetime commitment to them. It is a particular privilege to be associated with Mark Begich, who with his understanding and knowledge of public sacrifice has long been in public services himself, listening to veterans. He mentioned his work as mayor in listening to veterans. He mentioned today a bold program, which he will be a strong voice in the halls of Congress to make sure that Americans' veterans are remembered. We have had enough business as usual. Mark, you will do a fabulous job. We are ready for change, and you're the person to lead the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me introduce Evan Oram from Nunivak Island, now of Anchorage. Thank you very much for being here.
Hello, my name is Evan Oram. I'm originally from Western Alaska, and I'm a Vietnam veteran. As a young man, I was drafted and served my country. Like so many veterans, when I returned, there was no support or assistance for veterans. This was especially true for Alaska Natives returning to their villages. Too often, Alaska Native veterans were forgotten. Today, 40 years later, not much has changed. Alaska Native veterans are returning to their villages with little or no assistance. More than 1/6 of Alaska Army National Guard is Alaska Native. When the 600 Guardsmen returned from deployment last October, members fanned out to more than 80 communities. I applaud Mark Begich for what he has done as a mayor of Anchorage to help Alaska Native veterans, but also for the commitment he's making today to help Alaska Native veterans. There will be when he becomes a U.S. Senator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evan. And let me introduce a 16-year Army Sergeant and veteran, Dorsey Rowland.
Hi, my name is Dorsey Rowland. I support Mark Begich on this issue because if anybody knows what it's like trying to transition your military skills into civilian, it's pretty difficult. The expanded education opportunities are going to help veterans, especially the ones that are returning from Iraq and Afghanistan. A lot of them are suffering from physical injuries, and a lot of head injuries that it's going to require additional training. It's also a shame that we see our veterans having to travel outside this state to get routine services. That requires them to spend lots of time away from their family that's unnecessary when those services should be available here in this state. So, Mr. Begich, thank you very much. I hope you continue your great support.
Let me also make one more recognition, and I want to recognize my wife, Deborah Benito, and I know her dad lives right next to her, who's a retired colonel. Deborah, I really want to make a recognition because of her efforts, not only as mayor, the work I've done, but Deborah has done an enormous amount of work with the First Ladies Initiative. The First Ladies Initiative is to focus on those families here for active military that need additional support while their spouses are overseas. She was also, I'm proud to say, a recipient of one of 3 awards by the Armed Services, National Armed Services, for her work in volunteerism and the First Ladies Initiative. And it's a combination of not only supporting our veterans and active military, but the great support that's necessary for families. So this is truly a family affair for us. It's not just me as mayor or me as a future U.S. Senator. It's a combination of all of us working together to make sure the lives of military, active, and veterans are taken care of from all fronts. So thank you, Deborah. Let me end there and just say, again, it is a proud moment for me to be here. I know in 2003 when I ran for mayor and I talked about veterans, people said, well, what are you going to do as mayor? And then I got very active in many things we have done. We've laid out an aggressive plan, but now it's the next future, the future of our great state and its veterans and active military that sooner or later will be veterans, and what are we going to do for them in the future? And the plan that I've laid out is a bold plan, but it talks about, for example, as I mentioned, the Heroes Health Card, which is a future way of how to deal with health care coverage. Also the Veterans Hospital, Veterans Home here in Alaska is needed. For years we've heard the talk of those two types of facilities, but we don't have those in this state today. And we have one of the highest per capita veterans in the country. And this is one state that should have it, it is our state. So it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to look to the future and see the great things we can do from the U.S. Senate and see what we can do for Alaska veterans. Thank you all very much, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Again, thank you all very much.